Celtics are looking to go back-to-back. And right now, it's looking very likely. They just dominate teams. And last night, once again, the Celtics were on fire, putting on another clinic of dominance against the Miami Heat. Jaylen Brown led the charge with 29 points, showing why he's one of the league's elite scorers. Jason Tatum chipped in with 18 points and grabbed 11 rebounds, continuing to prove why he's a top-tier, all-around player. And let's talk about Peyton Pritchard. He dropped an impressive 25 points off the bench, marking his 4th straight game with 20 or more points as a reserve. That kind of consistency is rare and shows how deep this Boston squad truly is. Miami, on the other hand, just couldn't get it going offensively. Tyler Herro and Jaime Jaquez Jr. both scored 19 points, with Jaquez also grabbing 10 rebounds, but their shooting woes were glaring. Herro went 2 for 10 from beyond the arc, and the team as a whole shot a brutal 23% from deep and only 36% from the field. Without Jimmy Butler, who's been battling knee issues, Miami lacked the firepower and leadership they desperately needed. Boston's defense was relentless, turning the Heat's early 7-point lead into a distant memory. After falling behind, the Celtics responded with a 17-2 run that completely shifted the game's momentum. By the second quarter, they'd built a double-digit lead, and by the third, it ballooned to 20 points. This wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Derek White deserves a ton of credit for this performance. He poured in 19 points, and once again proved how vital he is to this team. White's defense is top-notch, and his knack for hitting clutch threes in the fourth quarter is a game-changer. Every time the Heat seemed like they might make a run, White was there to shut the door. He might not always grab the headlines, but night in and night out, he's one of the most consistent and impactful players on this roster. And then there's Pritchard. What a spark plug he's been. He's not just scoring, he's scoring with confidence. You can see it in the way he carries himself on the court. He's aggressive, fearless, and always ready to step up when the team needs him. His hustle plays are contagious, and his ability to inject instant offense is a huge asset. Pritchard isn't just a role player right now, he's becoming a difference maker. Even with Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and KP sitting out, Boston didn't miss a beat. That's a testament to their depth in the way their role players are stepping up. Drew Peterson, for example, made the most of his opportunity, crashing the boards, playing solid defense, and knocking down open shots. He's making a strong case for consistent minutes moving forward. Boston's ability to dominate on the second night of back-to-backs is unmatched. They're now 8-1 in their last 9 games, including the playoffs against Miami. This team just knows how to bring it, no matter the circumstances. It's a level of focus and execution that few teams can match. What stood out most was how balanced and cohesive Boston's attack was. If Tatum or Brown isn't having their best night, someone else always steps up. That's what makes this team so dangerous. They're not reliant on 1 or 2 players to carry the load. Derek White, for instance, is arguably the second most important player on this team because of his versatility and consistency. He doesn't have off nights and does everything well, from scoring to playmaking to locking down opponents on defense. This game also highlighted Boston's ability to adapt and impose their will. They controlled the pace, dictated the flow, and made Miami play on their terms. That kind of control isn't just about talent. It's about preparation, confidence, and a winning mentality. It's clear that Boston is in a groove right now. They've avoided losing back-to-back games all season, a remarkable feat that underscores their resilience. When you watch this team, you can feel their hunger and determination. They're not just playing to win games, they're playing to send a message. The Celtics bench was also a massive factor. Having a guy like Pritchard come in and give you 20-plus points on a regular basis is a luxury most teams don't have. And it's not just about the scoring. It's his energy, his confidence, and his ability to swing momentum in their favor. The Heat, meanwhile, have some things to figure out. Without Jimmy Butler, they looked lost at times, and their shooting struggles were a big reason why this game got out of hand. Miami has been a tough team in recent years, but Boston seems to have their number right now. Overall, this was another impressive showing from the Celtics. They're firing on all cylinders, and their depth, talent, and defensive intensity make them a nightmare matchup for anyone. Nights like this show why they're one of the best teams in the league and a serious threat to win it all again this year. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Boston. The crazy thing is, yes, they won by 20 last night, but these dominant games happen like every other game. I want to go through some of these games. Take their game against the Clippers, for example. Jason Tatum led the charge with 20 points, but this game was about so much more than just one star's performance. the Celtics nailed an incredible 22 three-pointers, steamrolling the Clippers 126-94. It wasn't just a win, it was a flat-out demolition, their 6th straight victory, and it showed why they're such a dangerous team right now. Peyton Pritchard was a standout, matching Tatum with 20 points of his own. He brought energy off the bench that completely changed the game's momentum. When the Clippers went on a run in the third quarter, cutting what had been a massive lead down to just 14, Pritchard stepped up. Boston responded with 3 straight three-pointers, pushing the lead back to over 20 points. From that point on, the game wasn't in doubt. Pritchard's confidence and hustle are becoming essential for this team, and this game was the perfect example of how impactful he can be. KP made his season debut after months away from the court, and he didn't disappoint. He finished with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks in just 23 minutes of action. While his three-point shooting wasn't sharp, he hit only 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. Everything else he did was a huge boost for Boston. His presence in the paint was a game changer. The Clippers still scored 58 points in the paint, but when KP was on the floor, those interior looks weren't nearly as easy. You could see how much his size and defensive instincts disrupted the Clippers' rhythm inside. If this is what he can do in limited minutes after months off, the rest of the league should be very nervous about what's coming next. Boston's second quarter explosion was one for the books. They dropped 51 points in that quarter alone, tying an NBA record with 12 made three-pointers. They shot an insane 12 of 17 from deep in that stretch, completely burying the Clippers before halftime. Watching them move the ball and find open shooters was like watching a basketball masterclass. Every pass had a purpose, every shot looked confident, and the Clippers simply couldn't keep up. Sam Hauser deserves a ton of credit for his performance. He was absolutely perfect from three-point range, and his shooting played a huge role in that record-tying second quarter. When Hauser's locked in like that, he becomes such a valuable weapon for Boston. It wasn't just that he was making shots, it was the timing of those shots. Every time the Clippers tried to spark some kind of momentum, Hauser was there to slam the door shut. The Clippers had their moments, particularly in the third quarter. Zubac was a bright spot for them, leading the team with 23 points and 10 rebounds. He gave Boston some trouble inside, using his size to create scoring opportunities and clean up the glass. James Harden also had a solid game, finishing just shy of a triple-double with 19 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. But even with their stars contributing, the Clippers couldn't keep pace. Boston's depth and firepower were just too overwhelming. Speaking of depth, the Celtics got contributions from all over the roster. Jordan Walsh looked confident out there, playing with a level of poise that's impressive for a young player. Neemias Queta continued to impress as well, bringing energy and hustle that kept the Clippers on their heels. It's one thing for a team to rely on its stars, but when the bench is playing this well, it takes the team to a whole new level. What really stood out about Boston was their ability to adjust. The Clippers came into this game riding a 5-game win streak, and they're a talented team. But Boston's defense made all the difference. Even though Los Angeles managed 58 points in the paint, the Celtics tightened up when it mattered most, especially with KP anchoring the defense. They forced the Clippers into tough shots, contested everything, and made sure that nothing came easy. On offense, Boston was nearly flawless. The ball movement was incredible, the spacing was perfect, and the shooting was lights out. Those 22 three-pointers weren't just a product of hot shooting, they were the result of crisp execution and smart decision-making. When you're generating that many high-quality looks, it's no surprise that the shots start falling. One of the most impressive things about this win was that it came on the second night of a back-to-back. Most teams would struggle to find the energy to dominate like this in those circumstances, but the Celtics looked as fresh as ever. A 32-point win under those conditions says a lot about their focus and preparation. They didn't let fatigue become an excuse. They came out and handled their business. KP's return adds another layer to this team's dominance. Even though he's still working his way back into form, you could see the potential for what he brings to the table. His ability to stretch the floor, protect the rim, and make smart plays is going to be a nightmare for opponents. And when he's fully back in rhythm, the Celtics are going to be even scarier than they already are. Peyton Pritchard continues to show why he's such a valuable piece of this team. His confidence is through the roof right now, and it's translating into big-time performances. He's not just filling in, he's thriving. He was the player of the game, stepping up in critical moments and keeping Boston in control when the starters got a little too comfortable in the third quarter. This win was a perfect example of why the Celtics are one of the most dangerous teams in the league. They've got star power, depth, and a system that gets the best out of everyone on the roster. Watching them play like this is exciting, and it's clear that they're hitting their stride at just the right time. This game wasn't just a win, it was a statement. This team is locked in, and they're showing no signs of slowing down. In my opinion, though, one of their most impressive games was the one against the Nets. Jason Tatum was unstoppable in this one. He dropped 36 points, grabbed 10 assists, and pulled down 8 rebounds. Tatum didn't just fill up the stat sheet, he dictated the entire game. Whether it was hitting contested jumpers, finding teammates for open looks, or securing tough rebounds, he looked like the complete package. And he wasn't alone. Jaylen Brown came in hot too, finishing with 24 points and 12 rebounds. Brown's energy on the boards was a game changer. He made rebounding a top priority, and it showed as he battled for every loose ball and created second chance opportunities. Peyton Pritchard was another huge factor. Off the bench, he scored 23 points, dished out 8 assists, and grabbed 6 rebounds. Pritchard's hustle and sharpshooting gave the Celtics a major boost. His confidence was off the charts, and he played like a guy who knew he belonged. Anytime the Celtics needed a spark, Pritchard delivered. The Celtics didn't start great though. They fell into a 13-point hole in the first quarter, and it looked like the Nets might catch them off guard. But once Boston woke up, the game flipped fast. By the second half, they were in complete control, dropping 74 points after halftime. They finished the game with 139 points, their highest total of the season, and completely ran Brooklyn out of their own building. Boston's third quarter was absolutely ridiculous. They scored 38 points in that stretch and shot 7 for 11 from 3. Derek White, who had been scoreless in the first half due to foul trouble, came alive with a clutch three-pointer early in the third. That one shot sparked a 13-2 run that extended Boston's lead to 85-70, and from there, the Nets were toast. White's ability to bounce back and contribute despite early struggles was a testament to how deep and balanced this team is. Sam Hauser also stepped up big time. He had a solid performance, and while his final stat line might not blow you away, his consistency was key. Scoring 12 to 15 points regularly off the bench is exactly what Boston needs from him. When he's hitting his shots and playing with confidence, the Celtics' offense becomes even more dangerous. Hauser's improvement game by game is something that fans, and honestly, opponents, should be paying close attention to. The Celtics' ball movement in this game was just incredible. They racked up 35 assists as a team, while only committing 7 turnovers. That kind of efficiency is nearly impossible to beat. The passing wasn't just good, it was surgical. Every possession had purpose, and every player on the floor seemed to know exactly where the ball needed to go. That's how you win games by 25 points, even after a slow start. Defensively, Boston was just as sharp. The Nets only managed 3 offensive rebounds all night, which speaks volumes about how locked in the Celtics were on the boards. They completely shut down Brooklyn's second chance opportunities, forcing them to rely on tough, contested shots. Even when the Nets found success early, Boston's defense tightened up as the game went on. By the second half, the Nets were visibly frustrated, unable to find any kind of rhythm offensively. For Brooklyn, Ziaire Williams was a bright spot. He scored a season-high 23 points and showed some real promise. But outside of him, the Nets just didn't have enough firepower to keep up. The Celtics have now beaten the Nets in 12 of their last 13 matchups, including 7 straight wins in Brooklyn. Boston clearly has their number, and it's been that way for a while now. The Celtics also bounced back mentally in a big way. Just the night before, they'd suffered a surprising 1-point loss to the Atlanta Hawks, a team that didn't even have Trae Young in the lineup. That kind of loss could have lingered, but Boston used it as fuel. They came out against Brooklyn with something to prove and put on a clinic. When this team locks in, nights like that Atlanta loss are the exception, not the rule. Jaylen Brown's focus on rebounding was a huge reason for their dominance. It wasn't just about grabbing boards. It was about setting a tone. Brown played with intensity on both ends of the floor, and his 12 rebounds were proof of his determination. That kind of effort makes the Celtics so much harder to beat because it creates extra possessions and limits what the other team can do. KP didn't play in this one, but Boston didn't miss a beat. That's what makes this team so dangerous. They're built to handle adversity. Whether it's Derek White stepping up in the second half, Pritchard providing a spark off the bench, or Tatum and Brown carrying the load, they've got answers for everything. Their depth is a major strength, and it was on full display in this blowout win. The 74-point second half was a perfect example of how explosive this Celtics team can be. When they're firing on all cylinders, they're nearly impossible to stop. Their ability to adjust mid-game, find open looks, and capitalize on their opponent's mistakes is what sets them apart. Brooklyn simply couldn't keep up, and the final score of 139-114 didn't even feel that close. And then a few games before that, they had a game against Atlanta. The Boston Celtics were unstoppable against the Atlanta Hawks, putting on a dominant display from start to finish. Jason Tatum led the charge, scoring 26 of his 28 points in the first half alone. He was an absolute force, adding 9 assists and 6 rebounds to his stat line before sitting out the entire fourth quarter because the game was already decided. Watching Tatum operate with that level of control and efficiency was incredible. Derek White was another standout, contributing 21 points and 6 assists. He played a key role in keeping the Celtics offense rolling. Peyton Pritchard also came off the bench to pour in 18 points, showing just how deep Boston's roster is right now. Everyone seemed to step up, which made this blowout win even more impressive. The Celtics took full advantage of Trae Young's struggles. The Hawks star guard left the game in the third quarter with a rib strain after shooting just 1 for 10 from the field. He managed only 2 points and 6 assists in 23 minutes. Boston's defense deserves a ton of credit for clamping down on him and disrupting Atlanta's rhythm. Boston's shooting was on fire, especially from beyond the arc. They drained 18 three-pointers in total, including a staggering 15 in the first half. That sharp shooting gave them a massive edge, as the Hawks couldn't keep up. Atlanta, which already had the league's worst defense against three-pointers, was completely exposed in this matchup. One of the turning points came late in the second quarter when Boston went on a 19-4 run. Tatum and White each had 7 points during that stretch, which turned a 7-point lead into a 22-point advantage. The Hawks never got closer than 19 points for the rest of the game. That run was the dagger, and the Celtics never looked back. This game also highlighted the importance of Boston's depth. With Jaylen Brown out due to a left hip flexor strain, the Celtics didn't miss a beat. They've now won 16 straight games without Brown, which speaks volumes about how well this team adapts and thrives under different circumstances. Al Horford's availability also seemed to make a difference, as the team played with more cohesion when he was on the court. What stood out to me was how well Boston balanced their rotations. Blowout games like this one allowed them to rest their starters in the fourth quarter while giving their bench players meaningful minutes. Guys like Jordan Walsh and Neemias Queta got valuable experience, which will undoubtedly pay off as the season progresses. Queta, in particular, looked solid with extended playing time, and Springer made his presence felt with 2 steals in just 8 minutes. Drew Holiday deserves some credit as well. Early in the second quarter, when Boston's offense seemed to stall, Holiday stepped up and fueled the run that completely shifted the momentum. It was those little moments that made the difference, and his steady play was crucial in ensuring the Celtics stayed in control. The team's chemistry was on full display. Derek White continued to be a do-it-all player, consistently filling up the stat sheet and stepping up whenever needed. Watching him seamlessly blend scoring, playmaking, and defense is always a treat. Al Horford's presence gave the team a veteran anchor, and the younger guys seemed to feed off that energy. On the defensive end, Boston's intensity was relentless. They completely shut down Trae Young, who never found his footing in this game. The Hawks looked rattled, and their inability to adjust was glaring. The Celtics' ability to lock in defensively while maintaining their offensive firepower made this win even more convincing. By the end of the game, the Celtics had not only secured their 3rd straight win, but also improved to 7-1 on the season. It's their best start since the 2019 campaign, and they've clearly established themselves as one of the top teams in the league. Wrapping up a 4-game road trip at 3-1, with the only loss coming in overtime against Indiana, shows just how locked in this team is right now. This game was a statement. The Celtics didn't just win, they dominated every aspect of the game. From Tatum's early explosion to the bench's strong contributions, it was a complete team effort. Watching them dismantle a team like Atlanta, especially on the road, was a reminder of how dangerous Boston can be when everything clicks. And the same can be said about their game against Charlotte earlier in the season. The Boston Celtics proved their championship pedigree in a high-energy matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, pulling out a 124-109 win. Jason Tatum was phenomenal, putting up 32 points and grabbing 11 rebounds. Watching him dominate like that in such a heated game was something special. He seemed unfazed by all the chaos unfolding around him and delivered when it mattered most. Jaylen Brown also made his presence felt, scoring 25 points and keeping the Celtics' offense balanced. His ability to take over stretches of the game gave Boston a consistent edge. Derek White chipped in with 17 points, showing his usual knack for filling in the gaps. while Drew Holiday contributed 14 points, adding even more depth to this loaded team. The game wasn't just about the Celtics offense, though. It got pretty intense, especially in the fourth quarter. Things took a wild turn when Grant Williams was ejected after delivering a flagrant foul on Tatum near half court. Not long after, LaMelo Ball fouled Tatum on a three-point attempt and was hit with his own flagrant foul for the dangerous play. Then, in the closing seconds, Miles Bridges was ejected too. The Hornets just couldn't keep their composure, and it showed in the final score. LaMelo Ball was Charlotte's standout performer, putting up 31 points before fouling out. It was clear he was doing everything he could to keep his team in the game, but the Hornets were missing key players. With Brandon Miller and Mark Williams out due to injuries, Charlotte's depth was really tested. Rookie Tidjane Salon had a solid showing, hitting 3 3-pointers and finishing with 9 points. It was nice to see the young guy step up in a tough matchup. One thing that stood out to me was how composed Boston stayed as the Hornets started to unravel. The Celtics showed why they're one of the league's top teams, maintaining their focus while the Hornets racked up fouls and let their frustrations boil over. Boston benefited from 26 fouls called against Charlotte, while they only committed 13 themselves. That kind of discipline in a heated environment says a lot about their maturity as a team. The Celtics also made the most of their opportunities at the foul line, going 29 of 35. It's the little things like this that separate good teams from great ones. They didn't let the game's physical nature throw them off. They stuck to their game plan and executed it perfectly. Boston's bench gave them a boost as well. Neemias Queta and Jordan Walsh logged some solid minutes in the rotation. They're still young and learning, but it's clear Joe Mazzulla has growing confidence in them. Luke Cornett also had a good performance, contributing in ways that don't always show up on the stat sheet but are so important in games like this. These kinds of contributions from the bench are crucial over the course of a long season. On the flip side, the Hornets struggled to keep their emotions in check, and it cost them. Watching a team lose focus like that is tough, but it was a testament to Boston's ability to keep the pressure on. New Hornets head coach Charles Lee was facing the team he helped win a championship with as an assistant last season, and it was a tough night for him. His team had flashes of promise, but couldn't put it all together against a team as good as Boston. In the end, the Celtics' depth, discipline, and superstar performances were just too much for the Hornets. They controlled the game when it mattered most, pulling away late and securing a convincing win. It was another example of why they're such a dangerous team this season. Watching them perform under pressure like that, especially in such a chaotic game, was impressive. But we can't do this video and not talk about opening night against the Knicks. Jason Tatum kicked off the Celtics season in style, dropping 37 points while hitting 8 3-pointers in a dominant win over the New York Knicks. Boston tied the NBA record with 29 made 3-pointers and cruised to a 132-109 victory on opening night. Tatum was in complete control, not only scoring at will, but also dishing out 10 assists. Watching him set the tone for the season like that was a treat. Derek White chipped in with 24 points, and Jaylen Brown added 23 of his own, giving Boston's offense a well-rounded attack. The Celtics wasted no time building a huge lead, going up by as many as 35 points. The Knicks were left scrambling, unable to match Boston's firepower, especially from beyond the arc. The Celtics were on fire from three-point range for most of the night, lighting it up early and often. By the fourth quarter, they had tied the record with their 29th make. The crowd at TD Garden was electric, chanting "one more three" every time Boston had the ball. But as the game wound down, the Celtics went ice cold, missing their last 13 attempts. It was almost funny how they handled the pressure of winning an NBA title with ease, but couldn't knock down one more three-pointer to break the record. Peyton Pritchard dribbling out the clock instead of firing another shot was the ultimate tease for the fans. On the Knicks side, Jalen Brunson led the way with 22 points, but the team struggled to find any rhythm. New addition Karl Anthony Towns had a quiet night, finishing with just 12 points and 7 rebounds. The Knicks came into the season with high hopes after adding Towns and Mikal Bridges, but they couldn't keep up with the defending champs. At one point in the third quarter, Boston's dominance was so overwhelming that the TD Garden crowd started chanting, "Yankees suck," instead of focusing on the game. That pretty much summed up how lopsided this matchup was. Boston outplayed New York in every aspect, making it clear they're still the team to beat in the East. The game wasn't just about the Celtics shooting though. They moved the ball beautifully, consistently finding the open man for clean looks. Their defense was also locked in, making life difficult for the Knicks' stars. Even when Boston cooled off in the fourth quarter, they had already built such a big lead that the result was never in doubt. What stood out to me was how balanced Boston looked. Tatum was the star of the show, but White and Brown played pivotal roles, and the supporting cast contributed when needed. It's no wonder they're off to such a strong start. They're firing on all cylinders. The chemistry on this team is something special, and it showed from the opening tip. For the Knicks, this was a wake-up call. Even with their summer additions, they have a long way to go if they want to compete with Boston. The Celtics didn't just beat them, they sent a message. Watching Boston raise their 18th championship banner before the game and then follow it up with this kind of performance made it clear they're ready for another deep playoff run. Overall though, for the season, the Celtics are absolutely rolling this season, and it feels like they're destined to make another run at the championship. Night after night, they're blowing teams out and doing it in style. This isn't just a team getting by on talent. They're firing on all cylinders with contributions coming from everywhere. The balance, chemistry, and firepower they've shown so far are nothing short of championship material. Jason Tatum is leading the charge like the MVP candidate he truly is. He's dominating on offense, grabbing rebounds like a big man, and playing with an edge that's elevating everyone around him. He's not just scoring in bunches, he's efficient and methodical. Every shot, every play he makes seems to scream, "This is my league." Watching Tatum this season, you can see he's on a mission, and he's doing it all while making it look effortless. His ability to take over games and still involve his teammates has made Boston nearly unstoppable. And right behind him is Jaylen Brown, who's been phenomenal. Brown is the perfect complement to Tatum, but calling him second fiddle would be underselling his impact. He's an elite scorer in his own right, attacking defenses with speed, power, and a smooth jumper. Brown's defense has been crucial too. He's locking down opponents and forcing turnovers at key moments. It's this versatility on both ends of the court that makes Brown such a nightmare to deal with. One of the biggest surprises this season has to be Peyton Pritchard. He's making a legitimate case for Sixth Man of the Year with the way he's playing. Every time he steps onto the court, the energy shifts. He's hitting clutch threes, making smart plays, and giving the team an extra boost when they need it most. Pritchard's confidence is sky high, and it's clear his teammates trust him in big moments. It's rare to see a player make such a huge leap, but Pritchard's been proving himself all season long. KP being healthy and back in top form has been another massive key for Boston. Let's talk about the unicorn, because he's been incredible. KP adds so much to this team. His ability to stretch the floor forces defenses, to make tough decisions, and when he's not knocking down threes, he's dominating inside. His rim protection has also been a game changer, making it tough for opponents to get easy looks in the paint. This version of KP is exactly what Boston needed, and he's fitting in perfectly with their system. It's amazing to see how much of an impact he's having now that he's healthy. Derek White deserves way more recognition for what he's doing. He's easily one of the most underrated players in the league right now. White doesn't just fill in the gaps, he enhances everything Boston does. Whether it's hitting timely shots, playing lockdown defense, or making smart decisions with the ball, White is the kind of player every championship team needs. He's so consistent, and his ability to do the little things often gets overlooked, but he's been absolutely essential to the Celtics' success this season. Drew Holiday and Al Horford have also been steady forces for this team. Holiday's defense is as sharp as ever, and his ability to handle pressure situations is unmatched. He's been a calming presence on the floor, making smart plays and keeping the offense running smoothly. You can't put a price on that kind of leadership. Meanwhile, Horford continues to defy time. Even at this stage of his career, he's still a difference maker. His high basketball IQ, veteran leadership, and ability to knock down shots when it matters most have been crucial for this team. Having guys like Holiday and Horford on the roster makes Boston that much scarier. What sets this team apart isn't just their star power, it's the way they play together. Their chemistry is off the charts. You can see how much they trust each other on the court. The ball movement has been incredible. They're constantly making the extra pass, finding the open man, and making defenses scramble. It's that unselfish style of basketball that's making them so hard to beat. They've got the kind of synergy that can only come from a team that's locked in and fully committed to winning. And let's not forget about their defense. This team is relentless on that end of the floor. They're forcing turnovers, contesting shots, and making life miserable for their opponents. It's the kind of defense that wins championships. When you combine that with their offensive firepower, it's no wonder they've been blowing teams out on a regular basis. The Celtics are showing the kind of dominance you rarely see in the regular season. It's not just about winning games, it's about how they're winning. They're outworking, outsmarting, and outplaying everyone in their path. They've got the depth, the talent, and the mindset to go all the way again. Watching them play this season, it's hard not to feel like this team is built to repeat as champion. Everything is clicking, and they've got their eyes on Banner 19. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching,